Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you all are doing well. This is Muhammad Bilal Rana and you all are watching my YouTube channel Atoms of Bilal. Today we will solve paper 1 variant 2 May June 2019. So let's begin. Rabbi zidni ilma. Question number 1. The diagram shows 4 different methods of collecting gases. Let's first see the method of collection of gases. Method 1 is called downward delivery method. So this is a downward delivery which is used for denser gases, denser than air. This method 2, this is basically an apparatus called gas syringe, which can be used to collect whether it is denser or heavier, soluble or insoluble in water. So this is just to collect any gas. This method 3 is called displacement by water, displacement method, and this method is used to collect those gases which are insoluble in water. So insoluble in water and less dense than air. Now if you want to know what is the density of air, if the MR of any gas is more than 30, is greater than 30, then that gas is denser. Alright, and this method 4 is used to collect those gases which are less dense than air. The method is called upward delivery method. So this is upward delivery and used to collect less dense gases. Okay, let's see the option. So the question is, which method is suitable for collecting a gas which has the properties described? Now option number 1, less dense. So as we already discussed that this is downward delivery, so it is used for denser gases. So this is incorrect, option A. Number 2, denser than air and soluble in water. So as already mentioned that gas syringe can be used to collect denser and whether it is soluble or insoluble. So this is true, which means B is correct answer. Number 3, less dense. So I've already told you that this is method which is used for the less dense than air and insoluble in water, but in statement 3 it says soluble, so this is incorrect. Fourth, denser than air, but it should be upward delivery, it should be less dense than air, incorrect, so therefore B is the correct answer. After acidification, question number 2, after acidification with dilute nitric acid, a colorless solution of X reacts with aqueous silver nitrate to give white precipitate. So first we do the acidification with silver nitrate to a solution of X, and the solution of X is colorless solution. So this is important because colorless solution are formed by metals of group 1 and group 2. Okay, then it reacts with silver nitrate. Whenever you add silver nitrate and you get white PPT, right, you get white PPT, it is always of silver chloride, right, because this is insoluble in water. This iodide form yellow PPT, incorrect. This does not form this copper and lead, they are transition metals, so they always form color solutions. This copper form blue solution and lead form some other specific color, so they are transition metals. Sodium is group 1 metal, colorless solution, so it will make colorless solution, whereas chloride form precipitate with silver, precipitate of silver chloride, so therefore D is the correct answer. Okay, question number 3, the diagram represent a chromatogram of colorless acid present in a drink. So we have a colorless acid which is present in a drink and we are having its chromatogram. The chromatogram has been treated with a locating agent to make it visible. The RF value, the table of RF values for the possible acids is given. So here's the table and here's the chromatogram. Okay, which acid are present in the drink? So these are different acids, you can see, and along with their different RF values, as you can see the different RF values of every acid. Now The formula of RF is the distance traveled by the solute from the baseline over distance traveled by the solvent from the baseline. Now let's first measure the distance. This is actually baseline. This origin is called baseline, and this is the solvent front. Okay, so let's first measure the maximum distance traveled by the solvent. Right? This is the distance traveled by the solvent, and if you measure with the help of scale, the distance is 5 centimeter cube. The distance traveled by this spot 1 is, if you measure with the help of scale, the distance traveled by this spot 1 is 0.8 centimeter cube. The distance traveled by this spot 2 is 1.15 cm cube, and the distance traveled by this third spot is 2.5 cm cube. Right? Now you know the distance and you know the formula. You can plug the values in the formula and can find the RF values. So let's quickly find the RF values of each one of them. So for spot 1, the RF for using the formula distance traveled by the solute is 0.8 over solvent, which is 5 centimeter cube. By doing the calculation, the answer 0.8 divided by 5, the answer is 0.16. Okay, so which mean this particular acid contained the citric acid, 0.16. The second spot, the distance traveled by the second spot is 1.15 over distance traveled by the solvent, which is 5. So 1.15 divided by 5 is 0.23. So the second acid which is present in this particular mixture of acid is maleic acid, which have the same 0.13 value. And the third spot, distance traveled by the third spot is 2.5, as you can see, over distance traveled by the solvent, which is 5. So answer is 2.5 divided by 5. Answer is 0.5, which means this succinic acid. So which acid are present? So these three acids, citric, maleic and succinic. Citric, maleic and succinic. Citric, maleic, succinic. Therefore this B is the correct answer. Question number 4. Which gas will diffuse at the fastest rate? Diffusion fastest rate at the same temperature and pressure. Now you need to learn that there are two factors which affect the rate of diffusion. These are the temperature and the MR of the gas. Since the temperature is same, the only factor which will decide the rate of diffusion will be the MR. So, and those gases which have the less and least MR, or the lightest gas, it will diffuse faster. Now the MR of argon gas, since it is a monoatomic gas, it's 40. The MR of this gas B, we can do the calculation. 3 carbon times 12 plus 8 hydrogen times 1. So this would be 36 plus 8, and that is 44. Carbon dioxide, 1 carbon times 12, 2 oxygen times 16. So the MR is 44. Whereas the MR of this one atom, or there are two atoms of fluorine, one is 19. So the MR is 38. Now you can see that the gas with the least MR is this fluorine, which is 38. Therefore D is the correct answer. Two particles, K positive and argon, can be written as K positive 1939 and argon 1840. Which statement about these two particles is correct? Okay. Argon has more neutrons than potassium ion. So since the neutrons is the difference between atomic number and the mass number, so the difference is of 20. So this has 20 neutrons. It has 19 protons. The smallest number is the proton number. And since there is one positive charge, the electron is 18, which is one less than proton. Then we have argon, which is 1840. The neutrons is the difference between these two is of 22, so 22 neutrons. Protons is of 18, and since there is no charge, it has same number of electron. So argon has more neutron. Do you think argon has more neutrons? I think this statement is correct because argon have more neutrons, 20, where sorry, this argon is actually this one. So argon has more neutrons than potassium, so this statement is correct, therefore A is the correct answer. A mineral deposit is found to contain small grains made entirely of element carbon. So there's a mineral which is entirely made up of carbon. Which property will definitely be true of definitely be true? Which means there is absolutely no chance of error for the grains of carbon. Let's see the options. They will be made of atoms arranged in layers. This is not always true, but true with graphite. In diamond, there are no layers, so this is not definitely true. They will be soft. Yes, graphite is soft, but a diamond is hard because it is made up of carbon. So this is again not true all the time. But the option 3 says they will burn to give CO2. This is correct because whenever you burn any element made up of carbon, it will definitely produce CO2, which means C is correct answer. They will conduct electricity. This is not definitely true, but again true for graphite. So C is the correct answer. Okay. Question number 7. The diagram shows the outer electronic arrangement of calcium fluoride. Which diagram? So let's first see the formula of calcium fluoride. Calcium is atomic number 20, which means it has 2 electrons in the outer shell, so it will tend to lose these 2 electrons. When it loses the 2 electrons, it gains 2 positive charge, so calcium 2 plus, it becomes calcium 2 plus, and the electronic configuration is it has now 8 electrons. Since it is metal, it tend to lose. The second element is fluorine. So fluorine have 9 atomic number, 2 and 7. It tend to gain 1 electron to complete its octet to become fluoride ion. So yeah, and the formula of these two compound will be, you do the cross multiplication, the numbers Ca and F would be 2, and the bond would be ionic bond. Since the transfer of electron has happened, so the bond would be ionic. Now you can clearly see in A and B the sharing of electron is shown, which is an absolutely incorrect diagrams for calcium fluoride. We can see C and D option. In option number C, calcium loses 2 electron with 8 electron in the outer shell. This is correct. Fluorine has already 7 electron and it gains 1 electron. So this is also correct. And this is also correct with 1 dot and 7 crosses, which means C is the correct answer. With D, you can see there is 2 positive negative charge on calcium, which means this is an incorrect diagram. How many shared pairs of electrons are there in one CO2 molecule? So carbon atomic number 6, 2, 4. Oxygen is atomic number 8, 2, 6. One carbon needs 4 electron to complete its octet, whereas one oxygen needs 2 electron per oxygen. So there will be 2 oxygens. This is carbon. These are the oxygens. Carbon has 4 electron. It will share 2 electron with this oxygen and 2 electron with this oxygen. Similarly, oxygen has 6. It needs 2. So number of electron needed is equal to number of electron shared. I hope you get the idea. So it will share 2 and will not share remaining 4 electron. Same goes with this oxygen. So now you can see the number of shared pair of electron. 2 pair on this side, 2 pair on this side. So in total there are 4 pairs, which means B is the correct answer. 2 statements about metals are given. Metal contain lattice of negative ion. This is incorrect because metal contain lattice of positive ions. The electrical conductivity of metals related to the mobility of electron. This is true because metal conduct because of they contain C of delocalized free mobile electron. Both statements are not correct. Therefore, A and B are incorrect. Statement 1 is correct. No, statement 1 is incorrect. So this is also incorrect. Statement 2 is correct and statement 1 is incorrect. So which means D is the correct answer. Next question, question number 10. Powdered calcium carbonate reacts with dilute HCl to produce salt, water and CO. This is an acid metal carbonate reaction. So let me write the reaction over here. The question is, write the ionic equation. To write the ionic equation, we need to first write the complete equation to understand that how can we convert a full equation to ionic equation. So we are reacting calcium carbonate CaCO3. We are reacting it with HCl. This is aqueous. Dilute means it's aqueous. Powdered calcium carbonate, powder is solid. You get calcium chloride CaCl2, which is soluble, calcium chloride aqueous. You get water H2O, which is liquid, and the third product you get CO2, which is gas, right? Now this is the full equation. Whenever you convert your complete equation and you want to write the ionic equation, you actually investigate where does the change occur in terms of the state symbols. So you can see this this calcium, it is solid before it reacts, and now it has become aqueous, so which means the state symbol undergo a change. So this will definitely be part of the ionic equation. So calcium 2 plus, before reacting it is 2 plus, and after reaction it has become calcium 2 plus, but it is still aqueous, right? Okay, now the carbonate, it is solid before the equation and it is gas after the reaction. So I can write the full calcium carbonate because the whole thing undergo a state change. So you can write calcium carbonate solid, and it has changed to Ca2 plus aqueous, and it has changed to CO2 gas, right? Now the other thing which undergoes change is hydrogen. It is aqueous before the reaction and it is liquid after the reaction. So you can write H plus ion. This is aqueous and now it has become water. So I can write water over here. And the other thing left over is chloride, because it is aqueous before reaction and it is after the reaction it is also aqueous. So you cannot write this into the ionic equation. Now you can balance the equation. We have one calcium on both sides, and we have one carbon on both sides. We have 3 oxygen, but we have 2 hydrogen on this side and 1 hydrogen on this side. So this is your balanced ionic equation including state symbols. So we can see this is incorrect. This is also incorrect. This calcium aqueous, carbonate aqueous, it is not aqueous before reaction, so this is incorrect. Carbonate aqueous, and this particular hydrogen ion, they are aqueous, carbonate aqueous, incorrect, because you can see that calcium carbonate is solid before the reaction, so all A, B, C are incorrect. We can see the D option. This is solid, correct. 2 hydrogen ion aqueous before reaction, correct, and everything you can see is correct with D. So therefore D is the correct answer. Question number 11. Which mass of C carbon contain the same number of atoms as 16 gram of sulfur? So we first need to find the moles in 16 gram of sulfur. Then we will see that how many moles are present in these A, B, C, D option. So a common answer will be your answer. So number of moles of sulfur, M over Mr. Mass is 16 and the Mr of sulfur is 32. So the number of mole is 0.5, which means 16 gram of sulfur contain 0.5 moles of sulfur. Now we need to see among these given option which mass contain 0.5 moles of carbon. Now applying the same formula, M over Mr, the mass is given is 0.5, Mr is 12. So 0.5 divided by 12, you get 0.041. You get 0.041, 0.041, which means this is incorrect. The second option is 6. I think this is correct because mass is 6 gram and mr is 12, so it is the same ratio and 16/12, and the number of mole is 0.5. So this 6 gram of carbon contain the same number of moles as present in 16 gram of sulfur. Therefore B is correct answer. These all C, D are incorrect because they give different value of moles. Question 12 is important. 3 dm cube of sulfur dioxide react with 2 decimeter cube of oxygen. So you have 3 decimeter cube of sulfur which allowed to react with 2 decimeter cube of oxygen. But according to balance equation, 2 moles of sulfur dioxide reacts with 1 mole of oxygen to produce 2 of sulfur tri. One thing you need to know about gases that you can compare their volume as in terms of moles, because all gases occupy same volume under same conditions. Question is, assuming the reaction goes to completion and that all gases are RTP, which volume of sulfur tri will be formed? So how much volume of sulfur tri will be formed when you react 2 dm cube of oxygen with 3 dm cube of sulfur dioxide? Now the only thing which you need to consider to solve this question is to find the limiting reactant. So you have two reactants. Let me solve this question over here. You have sulfur dioxide, SO2, and the other reactant is oxygen. The balance, according to balance equation, 2 moles of sulfur dioxide reacts with 1 mole of oxygen as from the balance equation. As I've already told you that you can compare their volumes if they are gases. Now if you have 3 moles of sulfur dioxide which is given in the question, how much oxygen is needed? For 2 it needs 1, for 3 you need 1.5 moles of oxygen. But in actual we have 2 moles of oxygen, which means this oxygen is an excess. This is an excess. So for excess reactant we cannot apply the mole ratio, which means it is the sulfur dioxide which is the limiting reactant, and it will decide that how much sulfur trioxide will be made. Now 2 moles of sulfur dioxide, the ratio between sulfur di and sulfur tri is 1:1, but according to balance it is 2:2, but the simplest is 1:1. So if you have 2 moles of this, you will get 2 moles of this. But how many moles of sulfur dioxide we have? 3. So it will definitely make 3 mole of sulfur trioxide, which means this B is the correct answer. I hope this makes sense and you got the idea that how to compare the values. Okay, now question number 13. A sample of magnesium hydroxide is made. So we are making magnesium hydroxide by adding excess of sodium hydroxide to aqueous solution containing 1.2 gram of magnesium sulfate. So we are reacting sodium hydroxide NaOH with 1.2 gram of magnesium sulfate. The question is, you get magnesium hydroxide and the other reactant will be sodium sulfate, Na2SO4. First you need to write the balance equation. To make it balance, I'll put 2 with sodium. There are 2 sodiums, there are 2 OHs, and we have 2 OHs right there. 1 magnesium, 1 magnesium, 1 sulfate, 1 sulfate. This is a balance equation. What is the question? The mass of magnesium hydroxide formed is 0.26 gram. So when you actually perform the experiment, initially you have 1.20 gram of magnesium sulfate and you get 0.2 gram of magnesium hydroxide. The question is, what is the percentage yield? The percentage yield is the actual yield. Percentage yield, the formula for percentage yield is the actual yield which you collect as a result of reaction, which is this one given in the question, over theoretical yield which you solve through the balance equation times 100, right? Now he wants us to solve the percentage yield. For this we should calculate the theoretical yield, which can be calculated using mole ratio. Now you have 1.2 gram of magnesium sulfate. We can find the moles of magnesium sulfate in 1.2 gram using M over Mr. So the mass of magnesium is sulfate is 1.20 gram, and the Mr of magnesium sulfate, let me find the Mr over here, magnesium sulfate. There is one magnesium, so it will be 24. Sulfur is 132, 4 oxygen, which is 64. So 24 plus 32 plus 64 gives you 120. So the Mr of magnesium sulfate is 120. Now you can find the moles. 1.20 divided by 120. The moles which you get is 0.01 mole. Now you can apply the balance ratio, the mole ratio between magnesium sulfate and magnesium hydroxide. The mole ratio is of 1:1 magnesium sulfate and magnesium hydroxide. The ratio is 1:1. If you have 0.01 mole of this, you will definitely be having same moles of magnesium hydroxide. But we want to calculate the mass. To find the mass, we can again apply this formula, M over Mr. Now we have the moles. By calculating Mr, we can find the mass. So let's find the Mr of magnesium hydroxide. Now magnesium is 24. There is one magnesium. Since there is bracket, so I will write plus. Outside bracket there is 2. I will write 2. Then bracket 1 oxygen 16 and 1 hydrogen 1. So this is 17 times 2. It will be 34 plus 24. That will be 58. So now the Mr will be 58. You multiply this 58 with 0.01. 58 times 0.01, the answer is 0.58. So the mass that should be produced is 0.085 gram, but the mass which actually produced is 0.26. Now by plugging the values in the formula, we can solve this question. Since I've already told you that the formula is actual yield over theoretical yield. Actual yield is given in the question, 0.26. Theoretical is 0.58. You can times it with 100. So 0.26 times 100 divided by 0.58. 44.82. So the answer is, the percentage yield is 44.82%. So to round it off, the correct answer is C. I hope this makes sense and you all follows the same formula. Question number 14 is from electrolysis. When concentrated aqueous sodium chloride is electrolyzed, so you're basically electrolyzing the concentrated aqueous sodium chloride using inert electrode. Which product is formed at cathode and anode? Let's first write the whole reaction. So you have NaCl concentrated, which means it is present in water. The ions present are Na positive, Cl negative, since it contains water. So you will definitely be having these ions. At anode, anions will be attracted. Now you have two of them. Which anion will be attracted? Since I've already told you the series. The series is sulfate, nitrate, sulfate, nitrate, chloride, bromide, iodide and hydroxide. The anion which is present lower in the series will discharge when the solution is dilute. But since this solution is concentrated, the rule will get inverted. So it is the chloride ion which will be deposited at anode, because that's a positive plate, become chlorine, and to balance the equation I'll write 2 with chloride ion and 2 will lose 2 electrons. So oxidation will occur at anode, and at cathode hydrogen ions will approaches the cathode. They will accept 2 electron, One hydrogen needs one, so there will be two of them, and hydrogen gas will be released at cathode. So at cathode it is the hydrogen gas, and at anode it is the chlorine, which means anode chlorine and cathode hydrogen is the correct answer. Which negative ions are present in aqueous copper sulfate? So aqueous copper sulfate contain copper 2 plus, sulfate 2 negative. Since it is aqueous, it contain H positive and OH negative. These are the negative ions, sulfate and hydroxide ions. So I can see the C is correct, sulfate and hydroxide. Question number 16. The diagram shows the energy profile of a chemical reaction. This is the energy profile. Surely this is an endothermic reaction because product are up and reactant are little lower than the products. Question is, which row is correct? The reaction that is endothermic. So it is the forward reaction. Any reaction which have forward endo, reverse would be exo. So the reverse of it will be exo, but the forward reaction is endothermic, which means only C and D can be the correct answers. Second option, it says that a reaction with the greater activation energy. It is endothermic reaction. It is always the endothermic reaction which have the greater amount of activation energy. So the forward reaction is endothermic. So this is the activation energy for forward reaction, and this is the activation energy for reverse. So which means the forward reaction have more endothermic reaction energy. So therefore D is the correct answer, right? Moving on to question number 17, the table shows the energy released by the complete combustion of some compounds. Compound labeled as benzene, heptane, octane and propane. Their MR and formulas and energy of 1 molecule per mole is given. Which compound releases the least energy when 1 gram of is completely burned? Now we have 1 gram of each of these samples, and we need to investigate that which sample will releases the least energy. To find this, let's find the moles and then multiply the moles with this value, and the smallest answer will be the correct answer. So for benzene, since we have 1 gram of each and the MR is 78, you will multiply, for this time you will multiply it with 3270. This is for option number 1, benzene. For option 2, the mass is again 1 and the MR is 100. This time you will multiply it with the energy of this, which is negative 4800. And similarly you will do the same with all 4 options, and you will investigate yourself that which is the correct answer. The answer with the smallest answer will be the correct answer. An experiment is carried out to measure the rate of reaction between magnesium and dilute hydrochloric acid. So we are measuring the rate of reaction between acid and metal. So definitely you will get carbon dioxide. You will get hydrogen instead because it's a metal acid reaction. So this is the graph which shows the volume of gas along y-axis and time along x-axis. The mass of magnesium and the number of moles of hydrochloric acid are same in both of the experiments. So you're not changing the mass of magnesium and moles of HCl, but definitely you are changing any condition. That's why you have different peaks. You can see 1 and 2 peaks are different, but the end product is same. Important thing is end product is same and origin start from same origin, right? So this is what we need to consider. Which statement could explain the difference between graph 1 and graph 2? Graph 1 results are obtained at a higher temperature. So a high temperature favors the faster reaction, which means you can see 1 is a little faster, quicker than the graph 2, which means this is a correct statement. Then next, moving on to the next second statement, graph 1 result obtained by using HCl that is more concentrated. So a rate of reaction is affected by 5 factors. It is the temperature. A high temperature favor a faster reaction. Pressure, a high pressure increases the rate of reaction. Concentration, a high concentration increases the rate of reaction, so more concentration. So graph 1 definitely uses high concentration. Fourth is surface area and fifth is catalyst. So the statement 2 is correct because a more concentration will give a quicker reaction. So this is correct. Graph 1 obtained using a smaller pieces of magnesium. So the fourth factor which I was mentioning earlier, that if you use a powdered salt or metal, that will increase the surface area of that salt. So the rate of reaction will definitely increase. So yes, the graph 1 will be performed using a smaller pieces of magnesium or powdered magnesium. So all 1, 2 and 3 statements are correct. Therefore, A is the correct answer. Okay, hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide decomposes, this is hydrogen peroxide. It produces 2 moles of water and 1 mole of oxygen. The reaction can be catalyzed by adding manganese 4 oxide. So you can catalyze this reaction. You can increase the rate of reaction by using this very catalyst. The diagram shows the apparatus that can be used to monitor the rate of reaction. So this is the diagram, and you have gas syringe which is used to collect the volume of oxygen produced, right? So what is the question? Which statement is correct when a catalyst is added to this aqueous peroxide? Statement 1. The catalyst increases the activation energy. So catalyst decreases the activation energy. This is incorrect. Catalyst is used up. The catalyst never used up. It actually remains chemically unchanged. It physically changes, its surface changes, but chemically the composition of catalyst remains unchanged. Option C, the gas syringe fills up more quickly. So the gas syringe, it fills up more quickly when the catalyst is added. This makes sense because when you use the catalyst, more gas will be produced. I mean, the rate of production of gas will be increased. So it fills up quickly, which means this C is correct. The total amount of oxygen produced increases. So the catalyst only increases the rate, but it cannot increase the amount. So which means this is incorrect. So only C is the correct answer. Reduction can be defined in terms of gain or loss of electron of hydrogen and loss of oxygen, hydrogen and electrons. So let's define reduction in terms of all three. Reduction is loss of oxygen. Reduction is gain of electron, and reduction is gain of hydrogen, right? So reduction is loss of oxygen, reduction is gain of hydrogen, and reduction is gain of electron, which means D is the correct answer with all three correct entries. 21. Okay, why is ethanoic acid described as weak acid? A strong acid is one which fully ionizes in water, whereas a weak acid is one which partially ionizes in water, right? So we need to see that why it is considered as weak acid. It is an organic, so this makes no sense. I mean, it does not tell us whether it is weak acid. It is poor conductor of electricity. Again, a poor conductor of electricity can be anything but cannot be weak acid. It is only slightly dissociates in water. This makes sense. Weak acid slightly dissociates in water, and it reacts only with very reactive metal. There are some substances which they do react with very reactive metal. So the correct description for a weak acid is it only slightly dissociates in water. What is the best method to prepare a sample of silver chloride? So silver chloride is one of the insoluble salt, AgCl. This is insoluble salt. Whenever you want to make an insoluble salt, mix two soluble salt. One should contain silver. So since I'm talking about soluble salt, so with silver you can add nitrate. All nitrate are soluble. And the other salt must contain chloride. So for chloride you can take sodium chloride. All sodium salts are soluble, right? What will happen when you will mix them together? The anion of this will exchange with the cation of the first, and the anion of this will combine with the cation of this. So the other there will be 2 salts in the product. All sodiums are soluble, so the other salt will be soluble, but you will get silver chloride. You can do the filtration afterwards and then you will get silver chloride. So all A, B, C are incorrect. Mix aqueous solution of silver nitrate and sodium chloride, you will get silver chloride. D is the correct answer. 23rd, the nitrogenous fertilizers urea have this structure. Which percentage by mass of nitrogen does it contain? So we want to calculate the percentage of nitrogen. First, let's write the molecular formula. You have 1 carbon, you have 2 nitrogens, and you have 4 hydrogens, H4, and you have 1 oxygen, right? We want to find the percentage of nitrogen. So in this formula, what you can do is find how many N atoms, percentage of nitrogen. There are 2 nitrogen atoms. The mass of 1 nitrogen is 14 divided by the MR of this compound. So there is 1 carbon, which is 12. It contains 2 nitrogens, which is 28, 4 hydrogens and 1 oxygen, and times it with 100, right? So let me find the answer. So it would be 28 over 28 plus 12 plus 4 plus 16, 28 over 60 times 100. So the correct answer, therefore, the percentage is 46.66%. So the nearest answer, to round it off, D is the correct answer. Okay, question number 24. Ammonia is manufactured by Haber process. 1 mole of nitrogen reacts with 3 moles of hydrogen to make 2 moles of ammonia, and the forward reaction is exothermic. For this reaction, which row gives a true statement with the correct reason? So we are given with 4 statements along with the reasons. We need to see which statement and reason is correct. Statement 1. Nitrogen and hydrogen are mixed in 1:3. So I think this is correct. You have 1 nitrogen and you react it with 3. The statement is correct. The formula is NH3. This is also correct, which means the statement 1 is true. The pressure is used approximately 200 atmosphere. So this is true because we use 450 degree temperature and we use 200 atm pressure and we use iron oxide as catalyst, right? So the as far as the pressure is concerned, 200 is correct. It is a high pressure is needed to produce good yield of ammonia. So see, a high pressure favors that side where we have fewer moles of gases. On the reactant side we have 4 mole, 1 mole of this, 3 mole of this, and on the product side we have 2 moles. So high pressure favors the forward reaction, which means more ammonia would be produced. So this statement is also correct. The temperature used is approximately 450. This is true. A high temperature needed to produce good yield of ammonia. No. Since the forward reaction is exothermic, a high temperature favors a backward reaction. But why we are using this much high temperature? To increases the rate of reaction. So not a good yield. This is incorrect reason. We do not use vanadium pentaoxide, so 3 and 4 are incorrect. Therefore 1 and 2 only. So this is the correct answer. Which uses of sulfuric acids are correct? Now to find the correct uses of sulfuric acid, let's start. As a bleach, sulfuric acid is not used as a bleach. It is the chlorine, incorrect. Food preservative. Food for sulfuric acid is not. It is sulfur dye and sulfur tri, I guess, which are used as the preservative. So this is also incorrect. As a raw material to manufacture detergent and other chemicals. So this is correct because sulfuric acid is used as raw material. As a fertilizer, it is not used as fertilizer. It can be used to make the raw material of different fertilizers, but it is not used itself as fertilizers. So this is also incorrect. Only 3, which mean D is the correct answer. Atomic number of element X is 12, which mean X has 2 electron in the outer shell. It will lose 2 to become X2 positive, and the configuration would be 2,8. Which is the correct formula? So all formulas are written with chlorine. So let's make it react with chlorine Since chlorine is group 7 element, it will gain 1 electron, it become chloride ion. So the correct formula will then be, by doing the cross multiplication, CxCl2. This is from periodic table, by the way. Question 27. Which property is common to calcium 40, potassium 39 and sodium 23? Their atom all have more neutrons than protons. So let's write and see whether they all have more neutrons. Calcium is 20, 40. So I think this has same protons and same neutrons. It has 20 proton and the difference is 20. So their atom have all have. So this is incorrect. पहले पे incorrect हो गया. Their ions all have 8 electron in their outer shell. So let's see whether their ions do have 8 electrons. So calcium is 20. So ion will form when it lose or gain. So calcium has 20. So it will lose 2 electron, and now the ion of calcium would be calcium ion, and calcium ion does have 8 electron. Second is potassium, atomic number 19, 2881. It will lose this one outer electron, so it also have 8 electron in the outer shell. Third one is sodium, atomic number 11. So it have 281. So sodium will lose also its 1 electron to become sodium ion, and sodium ion also have 8 electron in their outer shell. So all their ions all have 8 electron. B is the correct answer. They all sink in water. No, they are group 1, sodium and potassium. They actually float on water, and they are never deposited on positive electrode. They are deposited on negative electrode. So this also incorrect. Which statement about transition metals or transition element is correct? They are soluble salt. Usually their soluble salt form colored aqueous solution. This is correct because if you see copper, it form blue, iron, it form reddish brown or green. So they form colored salt. This is correct. They all are in the same group. No, they are present in different groups of the periodic table. They are non-metals. In fact, they are metals. They can be mixed. No, they can be reacted, not mixed, right? So A is the correct answer. Three different elements react by losing electron, loss of electron. The ions formed all have electronic configuration 2,8. Okay. So three atoms, they all lose electron, and after the loss of electron, they all have 10 electron with 2,8 electronic configuration. Okay. Which statement about these three are correct? They are present in same group. So for example, since they lose electron, they surely be metals. For example, if they are present in group lithium, for example, sodium and potassium, they are present in same group. So it has 3 electron, it has 11, and this has 19. So when they lose their 1 electron, they do not have same electron, rather they have different, so they are not present in group. They are present in period. Period is from across from left to right. For example, it is sodium 11, magnesium it's 12, aluminum 13. So let's write their electrons first. 281, this has 282, and this would have 283. They all lose electron. They all lose electron. It is not written they all lose 1 or 2 or 3. They all lose. So we know that sodium loses 1, magnesium loses 2, and aluminum loses these 3. After loss of electron, they all have same number of 2,8 electron. They are present in same period, which means this is correct. Noble gases does not lose, and transition metal have form variable oxidation state. So B is the correct answer. Metal M deposited, metal M is displaced from aqueous M nitrate by copper. So copper actually displaces M and form copper nitrate, which means this copper is more reactive than M, and M is present below copper in the reactivity series, right? Okay. M carbonate are stable. So those metals which are present above carbon in the reactivity series, their carbonate are stable. Copper is way below in the low in the reactivity series, so its carbonate is very less stable. Incorrect. And M is even lower than copper. M oxide is reduced So the oxide of M is reduced with carbon. That would be true because carbon is above copper, and this metal M is below copper. So I hope this makes sense. Carbon can even displace copper from its oxide. So metal M is even lower, so it can definitely reduce to form carbon dioxide and metal M. So metal can be reduced, this is true. Metal react with dilute HCl. It does not react with dilute, it reacts with concentrated. So the metal present lower in the reactivity series react with concentrated acid. It cannot reduce zinc oxide because zinc is more reactive. So B is the correct answer. Which statement about some of the gases present in air is correct? Some of the gases. Dry air contains 78% oxygen. Incorrect. 78% nitrogen. 21% oxygen. Methane is produced by incomplete combustion. Methane is not produced by incomplete combustion. Methane is produced by vegetable decay. By incomplete combustion, you get carbon mono. Sulfur dioxide is released by volcanoes. This is correct. Noble gases make up 5%. They hardly make up 0.01%. So this is incorrect. Which treatment process is used for disinfectant water? Addition of carbon, remove the bad smell. Chlorination used for disinfectant. Desalination, remove soluble salt. Filtration, remove insoluble solid particles. A molecule of compound Q has 3 CC single bonds. So 3 CC single bonds, okay. 10 CH bonds. So it has 10 CH bonds. So I can see this very structure has 10 CH bonds. It has no other bond. Okay, so this is the structure surely. It can be polymerized. Since this is unsaturated, it cannot be polymerized. It decolorizes water. Again, unsaturated hydrocarbon decolorized water. This is saturated. So again incorrect. It has 3 isomers. Only 2 isomer of it is possible. So this is incorrect. It react, since it is saturated, it react with chlorine in the presence of UV. One of the hydrogen will be substituted. So this is correct. Which organic compound requires the least number of moles of oxygen for the complete combustion of 1 mole of this compound? So let's write the balance equation. When you are using 1 mole of this compound, you are actually burning them with oxygen, and whenever they burn, you get CO2 and water only, right? We need to see that which organic compound needed the least number of moles of oxygen. We cannot change the moles of this compound because it is given in the question. You should 1 mole. So let's balance the equation. We have 3 carbons on the left. To balance it, I need to write 3 on the right. Hydrogen, there are 8 hydrogens on the left. To make it 8, I'll write 4 with it. Now let's balance the oxygen. Whenever in any chemical reaction you have element, you always balance element at the end of every other atoms. So we have 6 oxygen and 10 oxygen. So we have 10 oxygens on the right, and we have 3 oxygen on the left. To make it 10, I will multiply it with 4.5. So this will be 9 and 1. So this will be 10 oxygen. So 1 mole of this needs 4.5 moles of oxygen. This option A. Option B, C3H7COOH reacted with oxygen, and when you react it with oxygen, you again get CO2 and water. Complete combustion definitely produce CO2. Let's balance the carbon. This has 4 carbons, so I will write 4 with this. This has 7 and 8 hydrogens, so it has 8 hydrogens now. Let's balance the oxygens. We have 8 oxygen with CO2 and 4 oxygen with water, so 12 oxygens on the right, and we have 4 on the left. So to make it 12, I need to write 5 with this. So this will be 10 and 2 with this butanoic acid. So this needs 5 moles of oxygen, which means the least number is, as for now, least number is needed for A. Let's balance the third one. If you have like this 3, so the third is C3H8 oxygen. When you react, you will get CO2 and water again. So let's balance this equation. We have 3 carbons. To make it 3, I need to write 3 with CO2. We have 8 hydrogens. Let's make it 8 by putting 4 over here. So we have 4 water, 4 H2O. Let's balance the oxygen. 3, 2, 6 and 4, 10 oxygen on the right and 2 on the left. So I need to put 5 with this. So again, this needs 5 oxygen. So as for now, A is correct. Option number D, we have C4H8. 1 mole. We cannot change this organic compound because it is mentioned in the question 1 mole. Reacting it with oxygen, you will get CO2 and you will get water. We have 4 carbons, so let's put 4 over here. 8 hydrogens, 4 with this. Let's balance the oxygens. 4 2s are 8 and 4 12. So I need to put 6 to make it balance. So the least number of oxygen are needed with this option, which means A is the correct answer. Which reaction is addition reaction? It is given by unsaturated hydrocarbon, making of ethane and ethene from butane. So this butane C4H10, we are making ethane C2H6 and we are making ethene C2H4. This is not addition but cracking. We are breaking a larger hydrocarbon. So this is incorrect. This is cracking. Making of ethene and hydrogen from butane. Again, this is cracking because cracking produces smaller alkane and hydrogen gas. This is also incorrect. Manufacturing of margarine from oil. So basically oil is unsaturated hydrocarbon. And you add hydrogen to unsaturated hydrocarbon and you get margarine. So this is surely an addition reaction. C is correct. Reaction between ethene and oxygen. This is combustion to produce CO2 and water. This is not addition. Number 36. Two equations involving ethanol are shown. In the first reaction, you are doing reaction with oxygen, oxidation to you get carboxylic acid. So oxidation of alcohol produces carboxylic acid. In the second reaction, you are making ethanol. When you react glucose, you are fermenting it. Fermentation of glucose, you get ethanol and CO2. Both reactions are true. Which row is correct? Molecular formula of carboxylic acid. Okay, so in one, so we are using doing the oxidation with ethanol. Surely we will get ethanoic acid. Ethanoic acid. Okay, the general formula of carboxylic acid is CnH2n plus 1 COOH. But this general formula is little different from the other homologous series because one carbon is already there. So if you want ethanoic, you place N1. So N1 would be CH3COOH. This is ethanoic. If you put N2 for ethanoic acid, that will become propanoic because one carbon is already there in the formula. So this is the formula of this carboxylic acid, which means this B cannot be the answer and D cannot. This is the correct formula of acid A and C. Okay, a catalyst is needed. In the first reaction, the catalyst is not required. It is just simple oxidation. Glucose need catalyst, which is yeast. So only 2, which mean this C is the correct answer. What is the empirical formula of ethanoic acid? Let's first write the molecular formula. The molecular formula CH3COOH. The molecular formula would be C2H4O2. Empirical formula is the simplest formula, so the ratio would be CH2O. 2 carbon needs 4 hydrogen, so 1 carbon need 2, right? So I can write the balance ratio 2, 4 and 2. Simplest would be 1 to 1. So this is the empirical formula, which means A is the correct answer. Which structure represent propyl methanoate? Propyl methanoate. So let's see with from option number 1. This oxygen is your reference, right? This is not even ester. This is carboxylic acid because you can see CO2H at the end of the chain. This is in fact butanoic acid. This is what? This is butanoic acid. Option number B. So oxygen which is present in the middle of the chain is your reference. On both sides of oxygen you can see carbon atoms directly bonded to oxygen. Now you start naming from that side where the carbon is bonded to hydrogen. So you start naming from that side. On this side we have total 3 carbon. So 3 carbon, it will be propyl. And on the right side we have only 1 carbon, so it will be methanoate, right? Option number C, this oxygen is your reference. On both sides of oxygen you have carbon. Naming from that side where carbon have hydrogen, so we have 2 carbons, which mean it would be ethyl. On the other side again we have 2 carbon, we have ethanoate, right? Again this oxygen is your reference. On both sides we have carbon. Naming start from that side where carbon with hydrogen. This is methyl because we have only 1 carbon. On the other side we have 3 carbons, methyl propanoate, which mean we are looking for propyl methanoate. So B is the correct answer. 39. Monomer Z is used to make polychloroethene. So this is your polychloroethene and we have a monomer Z which is polymerized to make this structure. Now what is monomer Z? To find the monomer Z, let's find the repeat unit, and you can see C and then CH and then Cl, then CH, then Cl, which means this first 2 carbons can be considered as repeat units. So you can cut the repeat unit. This is the repeat unit. And since it is you have bond between CC, whenever you have bond between CCC, this is surely an addition polymer. And first let's find the repeat unit. This was our repeat unit. No matter if chlorine is written above and below, hydrogen is written above, below, but you need to make sure that the carbon with chlorine should have hydrogen and the carbon with hydrogen should have 2 hydrogens. These are the unfoldings on right left. You just need to fold and that will be your monomer. So there will be double bond now. First carbon have 2 hydrogens and the other carbon have chlorine and H. So which means this C is the correct answer. This is incorrect because you have C 3 hydrogens. This is also incorrect. And this is incorrect because you have 2 chlorines. So C is the correct answer. 40. Terylene, a man-made fiber, is used to make clothing. Which row correctly describe how terylene is manufactured? To make terylene, we need dicarboxylic acid and we need diol, alcohol. Terylene and water is produced. The reaction is condensation because water is produced, right? So the type of polymerization is condensation. It is condensation, and the starting material would be acid and an alcohol. Acid and an alcohol. For B, all entries are true, which means B is the correct answer. I hope you enjoyed the video and you all learned. Keep watching and stay tuned. Thank you so much for your patience. If you have any question, just comment in the comment section. I will be there to respond to your question. Thank you so much. Take care everyone. Allah Hafiz.